We continue the 7th chapter of the 2nd act of the journey home. It's a long chapter, this one. Let's dive right into where we left off. May this reading relax your mind and awaken your heart. Sleeping on riverbanks or under trees and begging for some cheap grains to eat. This was the life I had chosen. Except for the times I succumbed to dysentery, I was in fair health. The cloth given to me in Rishikesh, which I still wore, had gradually faded and tattered. My hair had grown longer. My feet were calloused and scarred from roaming the jungles, fields, villages, and cities barefoot. All I carried now was a wooden begging bowl, a walking stick, a cloth bag filled with books, and the religious picture I had bought with my last money. But my heart soared with joy because I believed so deeply in the goal I pursued. Life was a school, and I had become its eager student. Something inside pushed me forward to see more and learn more. Something inside probed me to wander from place to place and person to person, not letting me settle down. Who or what was that something? I believed it was God, the presence who, throughout my life, had always been with me, whom I prayed to as a child, feeling him so distant but so close, whom I shamefully betrayed again and again as a teenager, and whom I now long to know and to love. In Varanasi, I heard of another holy place, of Shiva, Pasupatinath, where it was said that, on one particular night, one's prayers are sure to be fulfilled. Both the promise and adventure thrilled me. I traveled about 250 miles northeast by train and on the rears of trucks to Kathmandu Valley in Nepal, where thousands of pilgrims flocked to the temple of Pasupatinath. Being a foreigner, I was rejected entry. But I had come so far and was determined to worship that night and pray for a blessing, to find my way to God's love. At much risk, I covered myself with sacrificial ashes and entered. It was a profound experience that also had me questioning the foundations of my faith and my direction in life. The next morning, I set out to cross back into India. I was heading about 200 miles south of Pasupatinath in the state of Bihar to Bodh Gaya, the holiest place on earth for Buddhists. 2,500 years ago, Prince Siddhartha Gautama escaped the luxuries of his royal palace to seek a solution to the sufferings of birth, old age, disease, and death. For 6 years, he lived as an ascetic, enduring self-inflicted pain, starvation, and exposure to the elements, all in pursuit of liberation. Realizing the limitations of that path, he ultimately came to Gaya, where he sat in the meditative lotus posture under a peepal tree and vowed to not move until his goal of enlightenment was attained. Like Satan's temptations to Jesus in the wilderness, Maya, the power of illusion, tempted Siddhartha with every possible pleasure. But he remained fixed in his resolve. Under the sacred peepal tree in Bodh Gaya, he became the Buddha, the enlightened one. From that time on, the tree has been worshipped as the Bodhi tree, or the tree of enlightenment. Under the Bodhi tree, I studied books on Lord Buddha's teachings and gratefully meditated from sunrise to sunset. Meditating under the Bodhi tree, I felt that a flow of dynamic energy was lifting me out of my body and mind into space. In the 1960s, authors like D.T. Suzuki and Alan Watts were popularizing Zen Buddhism in the West. I had studied some of their writings and found its simplicity and directness appealing. When it came to my attention that a Zen master from Japan was teaching the way of Zen in Bodh Gaya, I was excited to have the chance to attend his lectures. About 15 students, half Indian and half Western, assembled in the meditation room, eagerly anticipating our first sight of the master. A bell rang, and the revered Japanese teacher entered. His head was shaven, and he wore long, flowing black robes. Carrying a bamboo rod in hand, he slowly sat on the floor, back erect. A shaft of sunlight highlighted his striking features as he addressed us. "I will be your master. Your master will teach you the original way of Zen as it has been passed down from a long tradition." The rhythmic way he spoke had a hypnotic effect. "The source of all suffering is desire," he began, "and desire arises from the mind's attachment to the senses. Freedom is to empty the mind of all thoughts. To have no mind or thought is satori, the empty, liberated state." His eyes shut tightly in concentration as he explained that Zen is to understand the meaning of life directly, without being distracted by logical thought or words. "You are Buddha," he said, "but you must discover it yourself. All beings are Buddha, as ice in essence is water." He recalled, "The great D.T. Suzuki has written that the practice of Zen means a life of humility, a life of labor, a life of service, a life of prayer and gratitude, and a life of meditation." He then described his method of discipline. "Your master will be strict, and you must obey his every word and observe silence at all times. Yes?" Everyone nodded. He began to lay down the law. "You must pay no tribute to the senses, no sex, no intoxicants, no games, and no music. You will eat only when and what your master gives you." The new students began to squirm while the seniors reassured them. He continued, "Your master will teach you with koans, paradoxical puzzles that will liberate you from rational thought. Your master will teach you kinhin, walking meditation, and zazen, sitting meditation. There will be 3 sessions of group meditation or zazen a day, 1 to 2 hours each. You will be absolutely still. Any motion will be corrected by the punishment of your master's rod." Folding his hands on his lap, he then taught us a technique to empty our minds by sitting and concentrating on the intersection of the floor and the wall. Nothing else. "When your master rings the bell, you begin. You will end only when your master rings the second bell." In the first evening session, my shoulder ached, so I moved it slightly. Whack! The bamboo stick lashed my shoulder. I never moved again. Anyone who moved was disciplined with the bamboo rod of chastisement. As our limbs ached and mosquitoes feasted on our blood, the whack of wood against flesh was quite common. Finally, we were saved by the master's bell. All the students surrendered to the point of shaving their heads. Everyone but me. I did not have the heart to commit my life like others. I just didn't have the conviction or will to do so. When the 14-day course ended, I thanked the master and departed. I felt the regimented lifestyle he demanded and the almost constant meditation to be a good experience, but there was something I couldn't name in the experience that made me suspicious. Some days later, just coming out of meditation under the Bodhi tree, I met a young American couple, two of Master's faithful followers. When I asked how they were, the woman began to cry. "You won't believe what happened after you left the ashram," she said. I can't imagine. Under the Bodhi tree, I braced myself. With a long, heavy sigh, she sat down next to me and began her story. Late at night, Jonathan went outside to use the toilet. He happened to see something very, very strange. Rubbing her eyes, she paused to collect her emotions. "Do you remember Pam, one of his American disciples?" I nodded. "Well, she was entering the Master's quarters. She came out nervously hours later. The next few nights, Jonathan hid in the banana grove to watch. To his dismay, he observed the same thing. When he broke the news to tell us, well, we felt we just had to interrogate her. Pam admitted the truth. Master was having a full-on affair with her every night. The young woman sobbed into a handkerchief and looked up at me again. We were betrayed. A sinking feeling came over me. She continued, relating how they had tested Master by secretly putting LSD in his tea. Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Under the influence, he revealed himself for what he was. You should have heard him. He went berserk on a complete ego trip. She deepened her voice and shook her finger in my face in imitation of the Master. "You must obey only me. I am the enlightened one. All others are frauds. If you dare to question my words or actions, you are doomed." She finished by saying that all his disciples had left him. My heart pained. I lamented hearing such news about one of my teachers. After my American friends departed, I tried to make sense of it. The Zen master had been extremely strict with his students, but not with himself. He had misrepresented a long tradition of sincere teachers. Unfortunately, such hypocrisy stains the image of all the world's great traditions. I thought, an irresponsible leader can break the hearts and faith of his followers and raise suspicion even toward those who are genuine. What pain his hypocrisy caused to those who trusted him, just to see what it has done to his own life. How essential it is to live what we believe. How vital it is to practice what we preach. Let's pause our reading of the 7th chapter of the 2nd act of the journey home, There for Now. A very sobering lesson, one that we should always keep in mind, however. Thank you for listening. I look forward to hear how the story unfolds with you as we pick up the book again next time.